Okay, now for the termination, or the assembly of this termination. First we put the gland nut on. This is going to be the device and the thread that pulls down on our overall diameter seal. The OD seal goes on. The sleeve, which is the mechanism and the housing for the OD seal to be able to mate up to give us a seal on the outside diameter of our cable. Next, the clamping ring. The clamping ring can go on one of two ways, the right way and the wrong way. The correct way is with the back with the largest surface area goes on the cable first, rather than the smaller surface area, which is the cone face. That cone face must face towards the balance of the body of the gland. When we're talking previously about the extension or the extended length of this steel wire armour for the clamping, if we let the steel wire armour be too long, then our OD seal needs to sit on the PVC, not on the steel wire armour. If we don't pay attention to this dimension, this part of the fitment can be correct, but we won't have a weatherproof seal on the cable entry. Next, the cone goes on. The cone needs to go on underneath those steel wire armours. Because this is quite a small build, being 2 core and earth, you may need to pre-bend those wires, but usually you just swirl in a clockwise direction the cable inside and it splays out, allowing us to be able to get that cone inserted underneath it. Make sure the cone isn't on top or trapping any of those steel wire armours. You can see that as we push it home, the steel wire armour butts up tightly against the shoulder of the cone, so that when the clamping ring is forced down, we get a good fitment out here. Next, we put on the overbedding seal, and when the whole gland assembly is pushed up, this forces up and constricts the overbedding for our internal seal. If we have a look at our enclosure now, we're left with the gland body, the fibre washer, and in this case the lock nut. In some cases you will have a tapped thread that this gland will fit into. Ensuring that the fibre seal goes over the metric 20mm thread, not the wrong way around. Insert it through the enclosure. And that would be torqued up as specified. If this was a fiberglass or a composite enclosure that isn't bonded to ground, we can use an earth tag on the inside from the diameter of the gland, and we can bond that off to ground with an external ground cable. Ensuring that when we put this together, we need to put some pressure down the cable path to keep the steel wire armours against the cone. We insert the cable in its entirety in and the seal, and we ensure that we keep the pressure on the cable so the steel wire armours butt up against that cone edge. Push the sleeve down and we do up the sleeve. So now we have the body installed, we have the sleeve installed, we have compression on the overbedding seal internally, we have tortuous path or cable grip and grounding, earth bonding via the steel wire armour cones. Now we have to put in the OD seal and the gland nut. In years gone by, we used to have a fibre washer on the outside of the overall diameter seal to allow this gland nut to slip on it easily. It's probably easier these days. We just use a touch of cable lube on that face just to allow the fitting to slip easily against that seal so we get a good seal inside. Push it all home. And using 2 wrenches, if we find that our gland nut bottoms out or binds up against the sleeve of the gland, we must have the wrong seal or the wrong gland application in use. That seal should always compress to the point where it's almost 2 pieces of metal touching, but it should be firm. We should ensure that after fitment it's a nice firm cable entry. If you find you've got excessive swing on the cable at this point here, it means that our overall diameter seal isn't on the PVC, which would indicate that our steel wire armour has been left terminated too long. Now the final feature of the termination, depending on the specification of the site that you're working at, some spec may call for denso tape or grease tape to wrap and protect the gland itself, being made of nickel plated brass. Corrosion issues in some environments like salt, and those environments call for denso tape. If not, we just suggest the use of the Alco silicone shroud. You can cut the cable entry because this shroud fits several glands and several ODs of cable. We just neatly trim the end of the shroud so it fits tightly over our cable, and we just push it up and distend it over the shroud all the way up to the body to give environmental protection to our gland. And that's about it. If you get to that stage, it's all good. Thanks for your attention. If you need any assistance along the way or any resources, you can check on www.wattmaster.com.au. Ferret through to the products, the Alco glands, where you'll find that resource and the fitting instruction. Thanks for your attention.